Hello, hello, hello. I hope we are well today. I thought I'd quickly jump on to YouTube. This should be live, so great to have you here. Haven't done a YouTube live for many months. I think it was the beginning of the whole quarantine thing where me and Melissa did some, so feel free to check back on those. It's more kind of fun stuff. But I thought I'm getting back into the whole video stuff again, hopefully soon. We're upgrading all the systems in the next couple of months so I can actually do more of these. But with that, in this episode, I'd love to talk to you about the difference between success and failure, or the success or staying the same. And ultimately, it is all about decisiveness. It's about making good decisions. The one thing that I notice in all my years of between success and staying the same and continuing the pain by doing so is our ability to stop waiting. We usually think that in order to succeed, there's lots of hard work to be done. And we might think that we're unfixable. We might think that we're incapable. We're not good enough, worthy, deserving, all those things and in between. But really, the difference between that success that you truly desire is the ability to stop waiting. When you start to do something, and I don't mean maybe just listen to a hypnosis track or to just journal or to just go for that run or that jog or fill in the thing. It's not just like saying small. It's about really declaring that now is your time to succeed. It's about your ability to respond. You see, when things come up, when the stresses and challenges happen, especially here and right now, it is not about the external. It's about our ability and our responsibility to respond to that situation, to do something about it. It gives us the opportunity to no longer rely on what's really happening on the outside world. Sometimes, have you noticed that we can pay way too much attention on what's happening outside? Now, of course, things are real. Things can be legitimate. There could be roadblocks in the way to you right here to where you want to be. I mean, if there weren't there, you'd probably just go for it anyway. So there are roadblocks. But roadblocks are there, but they don't have to remain there. And it's about our ability to decide something differently. More often than not, we decide to keep ourselves in the same circumstance. And some people say because it's our comfort zone. But really, our comfort zone is the most uncomfortable place to be. Because if you're like me, I would hate, and especially when I had my issues, I would hate battling each and every day. It would cause so much tension within me battling that internal dialogue that maybe I can or cannot do something. What if this person thinks this of me? What if I fail? What if I succeed? All this mentality causes us to feel like an imposter. Because on the one hand, we really want to achieve, but on the other hand, there's that part of us just always defeating us. And that part of us can be a mixture of many things, from limiting beliefs to negative thoughts to negative feelings and negative behaviors, how we act and react. Now, it's not always our fault, so we can feel good about that. But on the same hand, just because it's not our fault why we are like we are, it doesn't mean we have to keep up with it. You see, many times in the past, maybe you've gone through some certain significant emotional events. And those significant emotional events maybe put a dent in you. Maybe it formulated a certain belief. There's only so many times, especially if we're younger, if we were told that we'd never make it, or if we failed X amount of times, it's quite easy to believe how we could come to the conclusion or the decision that we're not enough, or we're not able or capable. Or maybe we can't go for that dream because our past has showed us contrasting evidence. That evidence of our past is dictating what we can do in this moment and also what we can do in the future. That is one form of the reality we can live in. A reality which is enforced based on our past. And that enforced past experience creates a prison of what we think is truth, what we think is possible. And that prison that we build within our mind will be the dictator of our success or our so-called failure, or just remaining the same in pain. It's not nice to feel pain. And people think it's harder to do something else. But really, a lifetime of pain for maybe a commitment, a dedication to something more, can be so much more powerful. It can actually be something which will set us free. It will allow us to be an example for our family. It'll be allowing us to be an example for our legacy, for those people in our life. So the decision point comes when things are so hard, so stressful, that something has to change. And that is why, like times like these, it is important to decide good and great decisions. It's important to use that as momentum. There's no greater time to start deciding on what is good for you and what is good for your future. Because when everything is saying no, when there's so many restrictions and that contrasting reality which we dislike, it shows up and says, look, you can't do this. Who are you to have that success? Who are you to think that you can be abundant in this time? Especially based on your past experience and all those failures. Maybe society says that. Maybe our friends or family have said that. Maybe it's that person just long ago and it's just sketched into our mind thinking, wow, I just can't do this. But in those times of stress, in the times of conflict, there is no better time to decide something different. Not for any other reason, but it's right. It's right to feel good. It is your right to live a happy and fulfilling life. It is your right to be able to have all those things that you require, but with the right that you have to have it, it means you must have the right to decide upon it. The decision will create momentum. That momentum will gain traction to achieve what you want, to be able to focus on what you want, look for the opportunities, and do what has to be done. Even if you have the limiting belief of I'm not capable, even if you have the imposter syndrome, despite all that stuff, I know there's a little bit inside of you wanting to break free. There's a little bit inside of you is just sick and tired of this experience. Because we always repeat the same stories in our mind, don't we? We start repeating them so often. Maybe we were told them at first. And as we were told them and as we experienced them, we started to accumulate them as our own. We started to take ownership of that story, that we can't have, be, or do what we want. And then that becomes the reality. And before we know it, we are buying into it as an absolute truth. And that is the greatest lie that we can live by. That we've been told that story, that then we start to repeat it so often that we actually start believing it in ourselves. And that means those people or those events, those past situations, or those trying to hold you back and keep you down and say you can't achieve what you want based on their limitation, we actually assume responsibility for that story that we play over and over again. And that will be the greatest self-sabotager. It's not about the external stuff. It's not about your past. And I have the greatest sympathy and empathy for those who have gone through those situations. But it'll be of disservice if we just start to play into that story forever. It is not good for me. It's not good for you. And you know what? It's not good for the world. And if we are truly to succeed, it must be good for everyone. As in, it must be pure in its intentions. And that is why playing those same old stories will become your evaluations in life. So if you're playing out that story based on your past experience, which says, well, I can't have this, I can't be that because I fear this, I fear what that person thinks, I fear of disappointment, or I'm not living up to expectations of society, myself, my family, my friends, all those things. It is of disservice to be that way. because we're not actually being an example to other people, not being an example to other people in our life. We may have a child. We want to be an example for them. We don't want to be that imposter, because you know what? 93% of all communication is unconscious. So to break that down, 100% of communication, only 7% is words. The rest is tonality and physiology. So I could be saying all the right things in the right order, but if my tone has a sense of lack of certainty, if it has my body in a state of fear, that is the communication that I give off to those people in my environment. And in this day and age, when we're going into work, we're going for our dream customers or our business, we've got to be more self-certain than ever, because people see through everything. So if we're telling over those same old stories, those same stories become our expectations, and therefore the prison of what we can do. It becomes like the benchmark, if you could imagine, of what is and what is not possible. So if you think of your circle of influence, your circle of what you can and cannot do, if it is circled and fenced off because we don't feel capable, or we feel like a victim, then how are we ever meant to go through that? And as I said, forget about doing the work right now. The work has to be done. But what creates the work is the decision to do. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Just stop waiting for it, because you'll never know enough. You'll never necessarily be enough to achieve what you want in terms of right here, right now. You might not have all the skill sets. In other words, you might not have all the knowledge to get that dream of yours. You might not have all the experience yet. But because we never will have all that in this precise moment, it doesn't mean we should stop doing and going for what we want. You see, when you, say for example, you're a doctor, you're learning right in the beginning. Do you know everything about your patient, all about illnesses and disease? Or if you're a surgeon, do you know everything? Have you gone through every typical scenario? I'm going to guess not everything is covered. Where do they get the biggest learning? By doing it. By working with people. Same thing if you're a mechanic. You have to learn on the go. You got to figure things out, not just through theory, but actually by doing the work. So we will never know all that we need to start right now. We'll never have all the experience in this moment to start right now. So feel at peace that you don't have to know everything, because there is no perfect moment. The perfect moment, if anything, is in the decision that you are worth more, that you have more to give, that you're willing to give up even those things that kind of make you feel good on the one hand, but is holding you back because of the time consumption that it takes. And I'm talking about social media. I'm talking about TV, Netflix, movies, maybe your favorite hobby or sport, unless you include it into your business or whatever you're doing. Sometimes we've got to give up things to be able to get what we want, to create that time, because there is always time, but we have to make a judgment call. Am I willing to do something different today to get something that I've always wanted? And it comes from that decision. The decision based on your values, your dreams, your mission, your ambition, your purpose, your vision. It comes from deciding what is it that you really want to achieve. What is it that you would like to experience in your life that if you felt every waking moment, whether that be deep self-certainty, whether that be fulfillment, wholeness, love. And I don't mean just external love, I mean love on the inside. That you nourish yourself with so much praise and gratitude, not in the fake or the false way, but I mean genuine self-love and nourishment, that you are building yourself up by doing and deciding and becoming whatever you desire. It comes from you. And it's really good news. And I thank you for the comments right now. I'll get to them very soon. It's really, really good news for this one reason. Because it means you have an opportunity to change. You see, if it was just reliant on other people, if you didn't have that ability to respond or to take responsibility, it means that you're just a product of life circumstance. And me and you both know, right? We're not just going to be a product of our experience. Rather being a product of life, instead, we must choose and decide to allow life to be a product of what we choose to create. So it's good news that it's all on us. Yes, we can gain help, we can gain traction, we can start to connect with people. We should be careful of who and who we do not listen to. But the good news is, its decision is based on your ability to respond to this moment. And that's the responsibility that I am looking for in success. Because you are an adaptive person, you wouldn't be here otherwise. You are by nature a flexible person. You have adapted and you're still alive, which must mean you've gone through a lot of stuff and come through the other side. You might not have life exactly how you want it right now, but you are a survivor and you can become a thriver when you go on and double down on your own purpose, when you go double down on your own ability to do something about it. And that's why we should quit waiting. We should quit relying on other people. And I'll tell you why as well, because for some people, an issue in our mind will actually create an internal satisfaction, which will always keep us stuck. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's just say, if I were to be depressed, and because of depression, maybe I cannot work in this scenario. And because I can't work, obviously then I have to be reliant on someone or something, a government, a country, a family member, a friend. I become reliant on some external means because I'm too depressed to, say, for example, work. Or maybe I'm very, very depressed in this scenario that as soon as something's happening, my friends all come over and ask if I'm okay and give me a hug and try to reassure me. Now, those are wonderful intentions that we have a society more often than not trying to help people who don't have much. It's a great, wonderful intention that our friends are willing to come and help us in our times of need. But one of the issues that we can fall into is that trap that we are reliant on something external. And therefore, we cannot go forward. Therefore, we cannot do something on our own. Because as soon as I start to take responsibility, and let's just say I let go of depression, now what's going to happen? My friends now know I'm not depressed, and maybe they might not comfort me. I might have that thought in my mind. Now I'm not depressed, I'm going to have to get a job. And therefore, the conflict in the issue is sometimes that we get something from the issue, a form of self-gratification or validation for being stuck. It might be a safety mechanism spiraled out of control, but in a way, if we go for that interview, or we want to go for that interview, but we fear that we might fail, that's a positive intention, so therefore we don't go for it because we want to avoid pain. You see, as humans, we try to avoid pain. That's what we try to do. Because at a deep core level, that's safety. That's survival. When we avoid pain, we're surviving. We're not thriving, but at least we're surviving. That is the biological instinct of the unconscious mind, to protect you at all costs. That's why it runs a fight and flight response. That's why it heals your body. It runs and maintains the functions, the habits, the walking, the driving, the talking, all these kind of things we're not always consciously aware of. So its protocol, its primary, you could say the primary purpose is to ultimately protect us. But that protection within itself can hold us back. So that fear, or the fear of loss, or the fear of what might happen if I lose my issue, will actually keep us stuck. We've got to be very clear on that. Are there any positive reasons as to why we should stay the same? Protection, safety. Is it, for example, I've got to work, or is it because I don't want to look silly in front of someone? We've got to be clear on those things. But on the same notion, once we're clear, then we've got to decide that even though my issues give me some form of gratification or self-preservation, I am not prepared to stay the same. I'm not prepared to keep on living out the same old stories that I've been told all my life. I'm not prepared to play out the same scenarios of my life story. I'm not prepared to be in pain any longer. When we start to make those kind of good quality decisions, something else shows up. And that is usually opportunity. Because now we've decided that we're done with that. And we're done with the potential consequence of staying the same. We're done with our story. We're done with the pain and the fear. And then we start to decide that this is our moment. This is our time. Where we come together as a community or even as an individual, where you realize that you are actually so resilient in the nature of you, that you realize that there's so much more to be had, to be experienced, whether it be in relationships, whether it be in your career or business, whether it be in your health, whether it be just the inner part of you which seeks love, fulfillment, wholeness, peace, and everything else, passion and purpose and love. When we go ahead and really go for that, when we decide that that's what we want to live on that side of the wall. We want to go through our breakthrough. That's when things start to change. It doesn't mean it becomes easy. I can tell you that right now, because work has to be done. If you're doing it alone, it might take a few months, a few years. It could even take a decade if we're not knowing exactly how to do it and we're just going all alone. But you know what? Even if we're a decade, it's better than living a life for the next 4 decades or 5 decades or even next 2 decades, depending on our age and things like that. It's far better to invest in that amount to be able to get on the other side, to experience the contrast, to realize what you've been through, and then be the example of what can be done. I'm not saying it should take a decade, by the way. For example, my system, it's 8 weeks. Yes, it takes hard work, but there has to be action there. But it comes from that decision to do and to be and to have what you truly want. Because even if there's 99% of you going, no, 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 as long as there's that 1%, that's all you need. And I believe consciously there's a lot more than just 1% or 0.1%. There's so much more than that. But that you are the decision maker of your life ultimately. I like to think of it like this, that the conscious mind is the goal setter and the unconscious mind is the goal getter. But more often than not, we're getting the unconscious mind to just go on its own programming, its own stories. But once we start to kind of rein it back in and start to get it on our side, that's when we start to succeed. Yes, like I said, it's good to have help. It's good to be connected to people. It's great to be able to have that expertise. If I want to learn how to sing, which I'm terrible at singing, but if I was to learn how to sing, I want to hire the person who knows how to sing. If I want to be able to lose weight, I'm going to hire the person who can show me how to lose weight. So yes, on the one hand, you want to be able to hire people and ask help and get help, investing in yourself. It is the quickest form to success. But even if you don't have that, it doesn't mean you can't be there. It might just take a bit of time to get that traction or to save up to be able to get there. There's still always an opportunity to thrive and shine, but it all comes from you. And that's what I'm really trying to say here. There's no perfect moment. This is the moment where we decide and declare we want more. So I really want you to get that in your mind. Every day we go, look, I'm ready to be more. Even though XYZ, I'm deciding something new. Even though the economy's like this, I'm deciding something new today. I'm not buying into it all. Even though my parents say this, I'm deciding something else in my reality. Even though my boss thinks of this, or I think of this, when it comes to getting that job of my dreams, even though I think that, I am deciding differently consciously today. Once you start to get that momentum, life will follow you. As I think I said earlier, success quickly follows speed, or speed follows success. Well, whichever way it is. But when we really get that speed and momentum, we get the success. Like the quicker you are, the faster you are, the more decisive you are, the more resourceful you are, the more all in on your dream that you are, that you protect your dreams, you protect your health, you protect what you truly desire. That will create the speed that you want. But the lack of anything, the doing the nothing, that's not going to get us anywhere. So make a decision that is good and that is great. Use what you have. Get what you need and start to be the example of what can be done. So I really, really want you to get that. And I also want to say, like, I haven't done a YouTube live for a long time, which it is right now. But I just want to say thank you for your comments right here. I hope I'm getting this right. Mirabella says, thank you for sharing through the years of your knowledge for free. I really appreciate and hope live to be very kind to you because you're kind to so many people. Thank you. Well, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. It means so much to me when I hear that. It makes me just want to do more. Natalie said, yeah, good evening. You help me so much. Well, thank you. Remember, you are the example of what can be done. So let's just say, look, I'm going to take that thanks. I'm going to take any form of gratitude you're going to send my way. I'm going to put it in my pocket. I'm going to use it to inspire me. So I appreciate you on that level. But also know that the changes that you're making through that work comes down to you as well. So be sure, there's what my dad used to do. You may have seen this before, but he said, like, put your hand up like this, turn it around, and just do that. Give yourself a pat on the back because, like, you got to thank yourself because you're the listener, you're the doer ultimately. So I appreciate you. And Drum said, I love your work. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you. And finally, we got one right here from Craig. Hi, Joseph. Your hypnosis saved my life. No joke. I can't sleep unless I have your sleep. Hypnosis playing my ear. PTSD rules my life, but at least I can go to sleep. Thank you. Thank you so much, Craig. I really, really appreciate that as well. And I believe as well, let me take that one off. We also have, if I get it right, Enya, I think that might be how it's pronounced, saying, I have all your hypnosis videos. So thank you very much. I really, really appreciate you. So I do plan to do more of these YouTube live videos. At the moment, I've been just updating my system. We're getting new computers and cameras very, very soon, but it's good enough quality right now. But I do plan to do more videos. But as always, look, you can go alone, you can do whatever you need, keep listening, using, getting stronger and better. But if you are someone who is a professional, who wants to gain in your career, win business, start or get more business as a business owner, is my system specifically solves that issue of the inner critic and the imposter syndrome so we can quit it all. But in order to do that is one of those things you got to apply. But before you even apply, you got to go to josephclough.info/power, Power. So josephclough.info/power. And you'll see if it's right for you. And then we'll kind of figure out by you applying to see if you're a good fit to connect with us. And then we can just solve the whole issue within 8 weeks. It is an investment. It is our service, a lifelong change, but it may be of interest to the right person. We don't actually want tons and tons of thousands of people because it is a customized kind of virtual in-person kind of solution. So it's very customized for the person. So we only work with a small amount of people to be able to gain the results that we really want with the person. But either way, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon on a future video. I'll try not to make it last like 2 months. I think it might have been 4 months since I last did a live, but we'll see. I will speak to you all soon. Many thanks and goodbye.